Welcome to the Small Business Made Simple podcast, brought to you by socialmediaandmarketing.com.au. Being in business is never easy, but it can be simple, or at least simpler. Join me, your host Jen Donovan, every week where we focus on marketing, social media, and working towards simplifying your business. You with me? Let's do this.
Gonna dream it big, 'cause someone out there listening. Everyone's got a voice to give, and it's time I heard you whistling, 'cause there's no point at all, in dreaming small.
Why, hey there. Welcome to episode 125 of the Small Business Made Simple podcast. Thank you, as always, for lending me your ears today. I know you have lots of choices out there, and I really do appreciate you making little old me one of them. I am, of course, the host, Jen Donovan. If you're a first-time listener, then super welcome to you. If you're a return listener, then hey, super welcome to you. I'm so glad to have you back. I am, of course, the host, a marketing thought leader, digital strategist, and coach for small businesses. And pretty much, I just love small business and I love marketing, and I want you to make marketing a priority in your business, because I know if you want to grow, you have to learn to market yourself. This week, I have a guest on my podcast, and I'm a little bit excited to have Pip from the Project Box, because she's coming to chat with me and, of course, chat with you all about systems and processes and bright, shiny objects that we hope are unicorns. I don't know about you and your business, but I am always up for a new system or a new process to make things easier, and I'm also a little bit inclined to chase bright, shiny objects, although I do take them to the end if they do get my attention, but I do often think that I'm disappointed that they weren't the unicorn that I thought that they were when I first started. But Pip got my attention in a Facebook group actually when she put up a post, and I explained this in the interview, but basically it had a list of like 20 apps, many of which were really familiar with me, and then at the end it said, so how are all these apps working out for you? And I just thought, oh my goodness, it really made me stop and think, because when I looked at the list, I knew many of them. I'd bought many of them. I was using many of them, and perhaps I wasn't using them all to their full. I paid for that potential. So it just really caught my attention, this post. So I thought, if I'm thinking about these sorts of things, then maybe you are too. So I thought I'd ask her to come on the podcast and have a bit of a chat to us. The Project Box is Pip's business, and it's all about systems and processes for your business. In fact, her tagline on her website and the front page says, what if your business could go from a jumbled mess to an organised goodness? And I thought to myself, yeah, that sounds pretty good. Jumbled mess to organised goodness. I'm in, boots and all. So Pip, she's great. I can't wait for you to hear her. She's pretty much an award-winning woman who is the go-to person for finding better ways for doing things in business. So I really hope that you enjoy my chat with Pip, and I know you are just going to get a lot out of it. So here's Pip. Pip, I am stoked to have you on, because what your business is built around, or what the Project Box is built around, is something I think a lot of small business owners do need a bit of love and extra help about. So, but for those who perhaps don't know you, could you tell us a little bit about yourself and the Project Box?
Sure. So I am Pip. Project Box is my business. I like to call it my business baby, because I also have a daughter who's my other baby. At Project Box, we help people look at how they do what they do in their business. So their systems, their processes, their workflows, basically how you get from point A to point B with everything that you do, right from the moment your customers hear about you all the way through to the point where you say goodbye as well. So in terms of what that looks like, the aim of what we do is to make you more efficient, more effective, to make sure that you're using the right technology, tools and apps to help you in your business as well, to help you let go of the ones that you don't need anymore, and just to help make doing business easy. You know, business can be a lot of fun when it's done right, and we just want to really help business owners make it as easy as possible for them to do business, but also for their customers to do business with them as well. So that's me.
Yeah, very good. So that's quite a good little thing to be on the Small Business Made Simple podcast, because we like to make business a little bit simpler.
Yay.
So, Pip, one of the reasons why I reached out to you to come on the podcast was a little while ago now. You had the most magnificent post up in our friends' Facebook page. So, shout out to Stacey, who has the Social Hub 101. But you had this post up, and I think it was like a Talk About Me Tuesday or Talk About Me Thursday or something. And it was a list of all these apps, and it was kind of like Canva and MailChimp and Planoly and LinkedIn and ConvertKit and Google My Business. And there was like literally 20 of them. And then kind of at the end of it, it was like, how are they working out for you? Because it was kind of like this big, extensive list, and it was kind of like, we seem to get distracted by these apps that we see, and we think, oh yes, that can make our life a little bit easier for us. That can, help us grow or help make things a little bit simpler. But at the end of the day, sometimes it actually makes life harder or more confusing.
It really does. Yeah. It really does. And then you get people like me where texts like crack, I'm like constantly ding, 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 looking at new things. But yeah.
Yeah. So why is it hard for us? Why do we get distracted by these things? Why do we see, someone else's recommendation and just think, oh, that could be good for our business? What are we looking for when we're actually looking for these apps to make our business life simpler, so to speak?
I think we're actually looking for a unicorn. We literally want something that is just going to give us the absolute best result possible with the least amount of work required. So every time, something new comes up, it's like, cool, how's that going to help me? What's that going to do for my business? Because like you said, we don't put things in place to make it harder. Every time we reach out to a new app, it's either because someone told us that we needed to have it, which by the way is not always the best thing, or it's because, and it's making their life easier and it's doing wonderful, fantastic things for them, or it's something because you're on the lookout for something and it's just you see it, or it'll pop up on your Facebook feed. There's a lot of sneaky marketers out there that if you jump online and start searching things, you're going to see them pop back up, and you're going to see a lot of them as well. So it's really, really easy to get distracted with all the new. I have to know a lot of stuff that's out there, and there's so many.
Yes.
I'm testing new software like multiple times a week.
Yeah, right.
I can't tell you how many things I'm signed up to at the moment.
To help
but
us.
I have an excuse. It's my job to know these things.
Oh gosh, that is hilarious. That is your excuse. All right, and you're sticking to it. So how do we decide? How do we know when we need a system, or how do we know when we need a process in our business?
Okay, so it's not when you need a process, it's you always need a process. The systems or the software, if you're talking about technology, it's about trying to support that process in the best way possible. So it's really the first thing, we ever do when we're looking at doing strategy sessions or things with people is getting really clear on what the customer's journey is through the business, because as they progress through that journey, you're going to have lots of different touch points with them. Now, generally, because of the world we live in this technical era, most of it is going to be conducted by technology. Unless they're buying a physical product, most of what we do, and even then, there's still technology that sits within that. You've got point of sale software systems, you've still got all your marketing, everything like that. So it's getting really clear on what that journey is, just from A to Z, and then looking at how each of those different tasks are being done at the moment and what technology is being used to do it. So most of the time, the reason why people will kind of go, oh, we need something new, is because I've seen a post on Facebook where something's been recommended. And then it almost becomes FOMO. It's like this fear of missing out on this great big next tool. But rather than taking the time to consider it or consider what their needs are, they're just diving in. And I've seen so many tools put in place for the wrong reasons, or the wrong software as well. So generally speaking, if you've done the right thing, it's because you've identified that what you're doing is currently not, what you're using is currently not supporting your business anymore. So things might be falling over. You might be getting customer complaints. If you've got a team, your team might be complaining as well. You might still be using pens and notebooks when you should really be getting onto a laptop and other bits and pieces. Look, all for the right reasons. When I'm taking notes, I use pen and paper. I'm a scribbler. It's me. It's like the artistic-y kind of need to map things out. It comes out of me. but then they get put in the rubbish straight away after I take a photo and put it into where it needs to go to be properly actioned as well. So there's no right or wrong, but what it is it's identifying what's going to work for you. No two businesses are the same. As much as we, can have two digital marketers, the way in which they do business, at the end of the day, they're still producing the same product, but the way they choose to go about it is what makes them unique to each other, to them. And that requires potentially the need for different software or different tools or different, their processes are different.
Yeah. And I think exactly that is what makes them unique. And that's why there's a marketplace full of people who technically do the same thing, but do it slightly differently, which is good for the world, I think, most certainly. But so there must be a pain point. We get to a point in our business where we either need to pass the job on, or we've outgrown our own process or something like that. So if someone is listening and they're feeling that pain point, that I've done it this way, but now it's not working, or I need to pass it on to my VA or my PA or an employee, how do they step that out? What's the first couple of steps or the first step that they need to take?
You can either do it in two ways. So one, you can do that customer journey that we were just talking about. So really going, cool, how do people hear about me? So you can have Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube. There's 5 tools already just supporting the social media actions. Then you've got the scheduling stuff that does that. You've got graphic design things that create the images that you put out on there. So it's identifying, how leads hear about you, how you engage them before you sell. So that's all your lead magnets, all your content, your blogs, your email marketing, all of that kind of stuff. How you sell to them, so what your actual sales process is, how you onboard them, how you deliver your actual service, which is like this fun bit in the middle, and then how you offboard them at the end. So if you can get a really clear idea, now that does not have to be a stupidly long, a proper process map. It's really just identifying what those major stages are as you go through. And then from there, you can really start to go, okay, well, if, for example, if you're talking about those pain points that you were just listing off before, and someone is short of time, I would be going through that and going, okay, cool, what takes the most time here? Let's try and get some quick wins and identify where the time has been taken. It might be that you're using Excel spreadsheets to enter data, which you're then copying over into a CRM, which you're then copying over into Xero. Let's try and streamline that somehow. It might save you 10, 15 minutes a day, but that is an hour at the end of the week, which you can be using for other stuff. The other way to do it is to reverse it. Look at all the software that you're using. List it all out, list what it does, list how much you're paying for it, look for the overlaps, and look for where, have a list of the things that you really want to be able to do. So like when I went looking for project management software, one of my biggest things was going, I need to be able to customize it. I cannot use something that is set in place for everybody, because that does not work for me and what I want to do with my business, and that instantly wiped out about 95% of the market.
Yeah.
So it's just, listing out all of the software that you're using, especially from technology, including all the apps on your phone, not just the ones that we use on our computer, listing them all out, being really clear around what it is that they actually do for you. Like I said, where the overlaps are, because I can guarantee you there will be some overlaps somewhere along the line, and then kind of looking at whether they're still working or not as well. So just taking the time to assess them one by one and kind of just go through that process of acknowledging it and identifying if it's still needed or not.
Do you find that some people, when they go through this process, are really surprised at the amount of money they're spending on apps that they don't actually either use or utilize to the full potential?
Yep. Had a lady last night actually on a webinar that I was on, and she was spending, what was she on? 20 grand, 15, 20 grand a year on software. And once we got to the end of the webinar, she realized that half of it she didn't need anymore. She's just been paying. A really good example of this is, when you get onto those free trials and it's like you get 30 days for free, and then after that, we're going to start charging your credit card. People are not forgetting to not cancel subscriptions. And because, they're not really looking at their numbers, or their bookkeeper's not picking up on things, they're paying for things they aren't even aware they actually have a subscription to. So it's even going through your bank statement for the last probably, at least 1 month, and going, okay, what are all these different monthly fees that are coming out? Because they add up really, really fast.
They do add up really fast. And I know, I've certainly had clients and even just friends that have gone, oh my God, I can't believe I was paying for this. And even myself, I had a scheduling tool that I was on trial for. And it was like 3 months later that I realized that, I'd been paying $50 a week or $50 a month for this thing. It was just like, oh, okay. So it's like I'd set myself a diary reminder and ignored it, but that's a whole different thing. But yeah, no, and so even the money's not the pain point just yet.
Yeah. Because you didn't notice it.
Yes, yeah. No, I didn't notice it, which maybe that says something about.
And at the end of the year, if you're spending $50 a month, that's a little holiday right there.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I want it, not the company, that's for sure. So what are your favorite apps or your favorite pieces of software that you either use or you recommend, I guess, for my small business audience, that are primarily in that a solopreneur type of business model?
Yeah, so there's just a few that you really need to have. Now, I'm not going to talk about specific platforms for recommending for people because it's so different to each business. So here at Project Box, ClickUp is our number one business driver. It's what manages the whole business. It's everything from sales and marketing all the way through to delivery and offboarding. It does the whole lot. So ClickUp, G Suite, Xero are pretty much the main things that we're using here to do absolutely everything. Obviously, there's little things on the side, but they're the three really big ones. Yep. In terms of what other people need, you're going to need some invoicing software. So you're going to need some accounting, whether it's Xero or QuickBooks or MyOb or anything like that. They're all just as good as each other. With that one, you need to do what feels right to you or what your bookkeeper is recommending as well, because your bookkeeper might have different thoughts on that. You definitely need a form of project management tool. So even though you might be an e-commerce store and you're using Shopify to deliver everything, you've still got marketing that you need to track and measure. You've still got things that your daily to-dos that you need to do for the business. So definitely project management. ClickUp is obviously my favorite one for that, but there's also Trello, Asana, Todoist if you just want a really simple to-do list. So accounting, project management, email. So we all need email, G Suite, Office 365, whichever way you want to go. I'm a Google Workspace now. Got to get used to saying that. I am a Google Workspace lover. I just love Google because it integrates so well with everything else. Email, accounting, project management, and your social media stuff as well. CRMs you can set up within your project management tool. So I'm not even going to say that that's a necessity, but it all depends on what your marketing strategy is and whether you're needing to send, campaigns and that kind of stuff. So from a absolute bare bones minimum, project management, accounting, and email.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, keep it simple.
Yeah, and really not that different. Like you need somewhere to have your figures. You need some sort of communication mechanism. Like, it's age-old principles that are perhaps now just digitized a little bit. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, and really, like, I love what you said, at the start, to sort of, do what suits you. Like, you say that, you love Google G Suite. Like, that drives me totally insane. Yesterday, I spent like an hour trying to do rules inside my G Suite, and it didn't work. I was just like, well, that was an hour, that I won't get back in my life. I think I need help with this. And so, it was like, who knows someone that does, G Suite really well. So yeah, obviously just what you get used to. Yeah.
And the way that that was prime example, because that's the thing with recommendations is we all react differently to different types of software. Once we're actually in there, what's user-friendly to me might be completely different for Joe Blogs down the road, who is then completely different to Jane Doe as well. We could all use the exact same program and even just see it in a completely different way. So it's really important, when you're finding software, to actually spend some time signing up for trials, as painful as it sounds, and testing and playing with things. Like, even when I recommend software to people, I'll go back and go, here's two options. This is the one I'm recommending for my favorite. But you need to get in and test it and play in there and just see what you like. Don't worry about accomplishing too much. just see how you get a feel for it. Let me know what your gut says. And it's surprising.
Yeah. And I guess, it's no different to the social media platforms in some ways. We didn't know how they worked to start with. We kind of just had to get on there and have a bit of a play. And, I've got a client at the moment who is really a beginner, later on in life, hasn't really played with social media very much. So my recommendation to her is just get on there by yourself. Just don't even worry about business. Just get on there, find some friends, interact with your family, post some pictures, just have a play, and then we'll talk.
And then get used to it. Things change over time as well. So the world in which we do business is constantly changing.
Absolutely. This has been a really interesting chat because I think, I know bright, shiny object syndrome is rife. And not just in my life, but in so many people's lives that we get, caught on that, almost that wheel, that, hamster wheel of just trying to find the next best thing. And exactly what you said at the start, that we want to do everything and we want it to just do it nearly always by itself. We don't want human input too much. So, do you have any final tips or tricks on, this sort of subject of systemizing or, I guess using technology to its best advantage?
Yeah, so my tips on systemizing would be to actually put aside time. Now, I'm not talking about doing it every week. Here at Project Box, we do it once a quarter, but put aside time to actually look at what you're doing and how you're doing it, because you'll be surprised at even things such as you think it's happening one way, or you think it should be, but when you actually get really critical and look at how you are really doing it, it's completely different. So to get, spend some time to be able to look at that and to be able to make the changes to keep moving forward as well. Like I said, technology, the world, everything is just constantly changing, and we're in that era where it's changing so quickly as well that it is really hard to keep up. So you do need to put time aside to look at your processes. I would do an annual tech stack review. Like, put it in your calendar and once a year, go through everything. Make it as part of someone's job to have a look at what all the tools are, what you're paying for, to see whether you still need it. Not only is the world in which we do business changing, but we as business owners are changing as well. My services, well, at the core of them, they're still around systems and processes. In the last 12 months, they've completely morphed into what people need today. So, the stuff that we needed to support us 12 months ago is no longer relevant anymore either. So that's a really big one. Make the time to actually sit down and take a look at things. Like I said, we do it once a quarter. We actually close the whole business off for about a week with no meetings or anything like that. And we spend 5 days looking at our processes. Wow. Obviously hoping to cut that down as we go along. But for the moment, I'm always trying to improve and be better. So for me, being able to do that is really, really important. In terms of the best apps and tools, get clear, get clarity over what it is you want. And, whenever people ask me for recommendations for CRMs or booking management or project management tools, I always say, get a bit of paper, draw a cross in the middle so you've got your 4 squares. Think about the tool, think about the problem you're trying to solve. So a lot of people actually confuse CRMs and project management as well. So think about the problem you're wanting to solve. Think about what it absolutely has to do for you. So if we're talking about a CRM, you might have to send email newsletters. You might have to have a sales pipeline. Some CRMs do not have a sales pipeline in them. There'll be things that it absolutely has to do. Then you're going to have your nice to haves. It's the stuff that would be great, your magical unicorn that we spoke about at the start, but isn't necessarily a deal breaker if you can't get it. Your budget and your numbers. So if we're talking about CRMs, obviously how much you want to spend each month, because this stuff just isn't free. How many people, how many contacts you're going to need, how many, all the numbers box. And then at the end, just anything else that kind of crosses your mind or things you want to look at or anything like that.
Yeah.
Get clear. Spend the time to look at it Yeah.
Yeah. And I would probably, I think that's great advice, but there's probably the word you used in there that I thought is worth repeating is free. It's like sometimes we get taken with free tools and we don't, we think because it's free, it must be good, but sometimes it's actually just yet again another little distraction.
Yeah. And it's the same thing when, you're paying for software as well, and you're looking at the difference between the pricing tiers. Okay. So, one plan might cost you $30 a month, but the other plan might cost you $50. And what I see people do is they naturally gravitate towards the cheaper one because we all want cheaper stuff. Spend the time actually looking at what you get if you upgrade.
Yeah.
Because quite often that extra $20 a month is going to save you at least an hour. Even if you only save 1 hour in that whole month, I can guarantee you your 1 hour is worth more than the $20 you paid to potentially save, however many hours it's going to be.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, great advice. Great advice. Pip, if my listeners want to get in contact or learn a little bit more about you and the Project Box, where can they get in touch?
Sure. So projectbox.com.au, or you can find me on Facebook and Instagram at projectboxau, or on LinkedIn, you can just come search for Pip Meacham and you'll find me.
Yeah, beautiful. And I will have those links in the show notes, of course. Pip, thank you so much for joining me. It's been a great little chat. It's definitely something that is worth chatting about often in small bites as well. So, yeah, super appreciative of you making time today and having a chat.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
I really hope you enjoyed that interview. All the links for Pip and her socials and her website are, of course, in the show notes. You will find the show notes at socialmediaandmarketing.com.au/125. But it's time to take some action. What is it? The world doesn't need more people aiming to do something. The world needs more action takers. So now you've heard Pip, let's go and take some action. Get out your bank statements and go through them and see who's taking money out of your account and decide if that app or that program that you've paid for is making your life easier, or perhaps if there's a better alternative, or perhaps if you have bought it and you didn't know that you had actually bought it. It's a great little exercise. And in fact, I did it again after I had a bit of a chat with Pip. I'd done it a fair while before that, but I did it again. And although I didn't find any business apps, because I kind of believed I had cleaned all those up, I actually went onto my personal credit card statement as well, and I did find that Netflix had 3 accounts and 3 different amounts were being taken out of my account. I was super not impressed, and Netflix got a very quick phone call. So rather than paying about $15 a month for Netflix, I was paying a heck of a lot more for that. So worth doing. Great reminder. Thanks, Pip. Guys, that's it for episode 125. I will be back next Thursday with 126, and I really look forward to chatting with you then. But let's get social on social. You can join me at Instagram. So my handle is at @JenDonovan_, which has changed, of course, for anyone who's been following along for a while. Otherwise, join my Facebook group, Like-Minded Business Owners. There is always so many great conversations going on in there, and I would love to have you on board as well. If you're enjoying this podcast, then, hit the subscribe button. And please, if you have an extra 3 minutes of your day, leave a rating and a review, and maybe even let Pip know just how much you appreciated her insights and her wisdom around systems and processes today. But of course, I will see you next week. But whatever you do, my small business peeps, remember, as my opening song says, there is no point in dreaming small.
No time like the present. Tell it like you feel it, say it proud, be true, and let us see you for the star that you are. No point in dreaming small.
I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land, the Yorta Yorta people, on which I record this podcast and conduct my business today, and pay my respects to their elders, past and present. I extend this respect to the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people here with us today as well.